This is it. This is it. This is it. Okay, I'm gonna bring a blanket because I'm cold. This is a video. This is a video that I've been asked for since I have recognition of time. Friends, family, everybody around me that knows that I'm bilingual has always had like this fixation with how I learned, and here it is. We're gonna talk about that. And I'm gonna use subtitles so people who I know that don't speak English can use this as a start to practice. Okay, so I'm gonna get cozy. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my journey, and I'm gonna share some tips after that. Some tips that I've used along the way, and some tips that I've heard that are more beginner friendly, but that if you're beginning, it will be good for you. So, okay, let's get started. We are talking about 2012, 2011, 2012. Okay, so disclaimer, I learned English mostly by watching a TV show. And you're asking, which TV show is it? Does it matter? It does not matter. It was Glee. Glee. I was a huge fan of Glee. Couldn't get enough. I remember Fox would show it. I think it was like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. in Argentina. And I would watch. And I would watch and I would watch and I would watch. And I would like download the episodes and watch them. I actually know a lot of lines of Glee today. It's my favorite show today still because I think it's so funny. And there was a lot of jokes that I didn't get at the moment when I was 11 because obviously, but now that I'm grown up, those are really good jokes. Glee made me as a person. If you are my friend and want to understand me as a person, you have to watch Glee. There's no other way. There's just no other way for you to come close to me if you haven't watched Glee. It's so funny. It's the best show ever. Okay, so I was obsessed with it, and I was learning lines in English with no previous experience whatsoever. And I learned. I just did. I was like, can I really understand, or am I going crazy? So I told my mom, and she was super happy that I was interested in English. And then she was like, okay, do you want to go to like school or something? And I said, yeah, I want to. So there's a lot of exams that you take. They're like something that everybody does just because. This Cambridge exams. There's first certificate, advanced, and proficiency. These are like the big three of like exams. So I took first certificate when I was 15. This is literally a certificate that says you are bilingual. Most people take it, Spanish speakers, I think. Okay, so I didn't study for it, but I did good, obviously. And then when I was 17, I took the advanced exam, and I got a good grade as well. I never took proficiency because it's a pretty expensive exam, and I haven't used them. When I have interviews or whenever I need English for something, people just ask you to speak English. So I never got proficiency, but I know that I would nailed it if I want to make it, right? I'm not going to because I think it's like $300, but whatever. You can do it if you want to. I'm not gonna do it. I'm too old for that. So anyway, I started going to classes. She trained me to take these exams. My teacher that I love so much. I've had English with her forever. She is such a queen. She would always speak to me in English. Not to me, but to everyone. Okay, so you step your feet in her class, and it's all English in there. to me, to my mom, who has no English at all, she would only use English with you. This is something that I think is super important. The people may think it's weird, like everybody thinks that it's weird that she only speaks English. I think it's so fun, like it's so great, okay? Because if you're not forced to be in an environment where English is there, forced, why would you even? Nobody wants to learn. Nobody wants to sit and make exercises. But when you're using English on your daily life, you're like, it's like when you're a child, you don't want to have your veggies, so you hide, and your mama hides them in your food and cuts them really small so you don't figure it out. That's what she does when she uses English on like a normal situation, because everybody should learn, and I agree. I think she's a great teacher. Yeah, that was it. That was my journey with her. I learned everything after that with her, but I had a vase. I had a pretty solid vase, and I was going really fast because I learned on my own. And over the years, I've had a lot of experiences where I've had to use my English. I've been to the US a couple times. And here in Buenos Aires, there's a lot of tourists, so I use my English pretty often. And I love it. I love it. It's one of the things that I love about myself. It's something about me that it's a flex, okay? I love to flex it. And I love to people, when people come to me and they're like, I have this friend who also is fluent in English. She's really good too. And we go to this bars and talk with people, and then everyone is like, your English is so good. I can't believe I can have a conversation with you. You don't even have an accent. And we were like, hey, I got 5 compliments today. And she was like, oh, I just got 5. I went to the bathroom and got 2 more. And we have fun like that. We flex. We just go flexing now. It's not practicing, it's just flexing. But a lot of people go to practice. Oh, okay, that's a good tip. If you have friends, if you live in a big city and can go to this type of events, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna start with tips because the story, it was my story, it was simple. It was simple as that. I watched a show, I really liked it, and I'm gonna go ahead and share tips. Okay, so speaking is the most difficult part. I have a lot of friends that understand English but are not able to speak nor write, obviously. Why? Because it's so much harder to, it's way simpler to just understand something by reading it and trying to like find the context and remember what those words were, but so hard to put a sentence together that is well put, that is grammatically correct. You have to remember grammar if you want to do that. If you want to like read, you don't need, you need grammar, but it's so much easier. You have like tips. So it's not the same. And I would encourage you to use English by speaking and writing from the beginning. Don't settle with reading subtitles and being like, oh, I can watch TV and understand. No, you have to talk, because if you don't talk, you're never gonna be able to talk. The only way to practice speaking is by speaking. So if you have a friend, you can use Omegle too, Omegle, I don't know how you say it, and talk to strangers and use your English. Even if it's pretty bad, the other person is going to understand. You're gonna have to try and find a way to make people understand you, right? Like, even if it's not grammatically correct, you're gonna, like, the only way to learn how to go somewhere is like by going. So if you want to get to, so like being bilingual is here and you want to get here, you're gonna have to walk to get here. And how do you get here? By going there. So you have to do whatever. It's not embarrassing. Everybody wish they could speak English, so the more you do it, the greater you're gonna get at it. So why go do it? Go do it now, actually. Call your friends. If you have a friend that wants to learn English or can speak a little English, try to have like when you're hanging out, like a 10-minute lapse of, okay, only English for now. That's gonna make you learn because you're using it. Oh, something interesting that I learned. I tried to learn Japanese. I'm not currently like doing putting an effort to learn Japanese. I'm just watching a lot of anime. But when I was trying to learn Japanese, intentionally, I saw that there's this thing because Japanese is a really difficult language. It's one of the most difficult languages to learn because there's a lot of reasons, but people refused to speak when they were like learning. They would just like learn how to read first or how to write, and then when they were good enough, they were trying to speak. And I saw a video on YouTube about how your brain storage information, especially with languages. And when you learn a word, the way you learn the word when you speak, that's the way your brain storage the word, right? Are you following me? I don't know if I explained that correctly, but so there's this thing called mirroring, literally mirroring from Mirror. You can watch YouTube videos about this, and there's going to be a person in the video that's going to say a quote or say a sentence, and you have to repeat that back so you can practice. It doesn't matter if you understand, if you don't understand, it doesn't matter because it's going to make your mouth familiar with every language there's languages that are similar, like Spanish and Portuguese, but there's always like a way to place your tongue, or some languages are on your chest, some are on this part of your face, on your mouth. They can be lower, higher. There's a lot of things that are different that your mind and your body does when you're speaking a different language. So even if you don't understand a thing, if you're wanting to learn, if you love a show, English is everywhere. We watch TV in English. Most of the TV everybody consumes is in English. So I don't know, look for a scene you like, for an episode you love, and stand there and just like repeat what they say. Try to imitate like the accent, so you don't have, because once you learn the word with that accent, it's going to stick. That's why most people have accents. So you have to practice. You don't have to just listen. You have to talk as well, so you can smooth your accent if you want to. It's okay if you don't, but I think it's a good exercise to do the mirroring. You can also look for that, mirroring Japanese, Spanish, English, whatever, and there's gonna be somebody saying sentences and you're going to repeat back. So that's good for you to know how to, so when you know the words and you know how to put a sentence together, you're gonna be able to speak fluently and more confidently. You get it? I think that's right. Okay, something else that I saw. When coronavirus hit it, I studied to be a stewardess. I never got to be one. I will someday. But, if you have, the more languages you have, the better chances you have of getting hired. So I wanted to learn Portuguese because we live next to Brazil. And I was obsessed with it, and I used Duolingo, and I was looking for ways to learn. Duolingo is really good, by the way. But wait, I want to hold to the stuff. So I started looking on Pinterest, how to learn Portuguese, whatever, and there was this like Reddit screenshots that said that you can write like a diary in your target language, not necessarily Portuguese. I'm actually intending to do it in Japanese someday. But so, yes, you have your daily diary, like when you were a kid. You just write what you did today. You're supposed to be like, hey, today I went to the gym, today I had this for dinner, whatever. And so you're not gonna know how to do it the first couple of days. But as the days go by, you're repeating words because you are doing, you, me, I did, I went, I got, I she, my mom, this, that. There's words that are going to be repeating themselves, and your brain is going to realize that that's what's going on. So um eventually you're going to be able to write the sentence by yourself. Maybe changing, maybe you don't know how to say a different color or a different object or a different activity, but you're going to know how to put the first part together, which is like kind of like the base of the language. Is my camera like, she didn't want to stay there anyway? So I think writing a diary is super cool, and it should be like something that is going to make you learn really fast. Okay, so we went through speaking. Don't underestimate that. Music. Okay, I think everyone listens to music in English. Don't you, like, aren't you curious? Because I'm not used to listening to music in different languages that are not Spanish or English. So I'm a big fan of Nana, which has like a killer soundtrack. And I listen to their music in Japanese, which is like J-pop. So, and I look for the translation of what I'm listening to because I want to know. And I sing. And even though I'm not saying something that makes sense because Japanese is really hard, I'm giving my best to understand. Okay, no, the camera is way too... Wait. Okay, I had some camera issues, but we are so bad. Okay, wants me sitting on the floor, then I'm gonna be sitting on the floor, bitch. Whatever. Okay, so as I was saying, I think I was talking about speaking, in mirroring and using your English or whatever language you're trying to learn. Writing a script, you can do that exercise and try and see if you feel comfortable. You need to be consistent. It's not gonna be easy. You're going to have to use the translator the first couple of times, but once you get in the hang of it, it's gonna be really good. Another thing, I've used Duolingo for learning a little bit of Portuguese and most of my Japanese. I've done more things for my Japanese than watching anime and using Duolingo. I want to be clear. But Duolingo is good. I've heard that for every language is pretty different because they have, like, for example, Spanish is so demanded that they put a lot of effort into the Spanish classes. English as well. It's one of the most, out of the millions of people that are trying to learn new languages every day, I think like 70 or 80% are trying to learn English, which makes sense. I think it should be more than that. So yeah, Duolingo is good. I think you cannot use it as your only source because you need to get in touch with real life English. You understand? Like, it's good for you to have like a lot of places where you can get information from. Watching TV shows, listening to music. You can use Duolingo. It's gonna be a little bit more formal, maybe like the way you were taught in school. But yeah. So those are my tips. Oh, we're talking about music. Okay, music is such an underrated tool for learning languages. You know how there's I don't know, a Portuguese song trending or something, and we get to learn the word in a different language and we don't use it. We just sing con el permiso de la favela, and you don't like even care. They're saying something in a different language, but that's up to you. I like to look for translations and meanings, and I'm trying to learn a little bit more. But yeah, those would be my advices. you probably like have a favorite TV show or listen to music. Maybe you have a playlist in English. What would I do? I would just like, okay, maybe have an hour a day. I don't know. If you're traveling, it's different. If you want to learn because of you, it's different. There's a lot of different needs. But if you're going to do it on your own and you don't have like a trip coming or something that you need your English for, you can take it slowly so it doesn't feel like you're doing hard work, because your mind thinking it's homework, it's what's making it look so like tedious when it's supposed to be fun, so you learn and you don't even realize. So what I would do, I would just try and sit for an hour a day or an hour after 2 days every other day, and just practice English with different sources. You can pick a song and translate it and try to identify, okay, like which letter which means what, and is it present, past, future, and what is it saying? Am I going? Am I doing? Am I having? Am I like? Try to go to the base, you know? There's a base for English, though, when you're trying to learn by the book, and that is the verb to be, which means being means ser o estar in Spanish. And I could talk about this. You need to learn like the skeleton of the language if you want to learn it. So the verb to be would be a great place to start, because you know it's nouns, is names, is he, she, it, whatever, objects, verbs. It's like the base, like the skeleton of the whole thing. Oh, another thing that I saw on YouTube, actually, because there's a lot of videos of how to learn different languages. One of the best ways to is to go find the most used words that are pretty much the same for like most languages. It's like humans communicate. So you need to try and find the list of like, I don't know, like the 200 more used words in English, and learn that. Okay, so you're gonna sit and you're going to focus on everyday words, because these are words that we use every day, that we use on repeat. There are like the foundations of the language, so you need to know that in order to put a sentence together, in order to someday be fluent and add vocabulary. But you need a strong base. So yes, you can look that up. You can look for like the 2,200 most used words in the language, and grab your notebook and try to write them down and try to identify them. When you're watching, it happened to me in Japanese, to say I, wait, hold up, how was it? Okay, so in Japanese, they don't have a he, she kind of thing. They have he, she, they have two, they have ore and boku for men, and atashi for women, and they have one which is watashi, which means I too, and it's neutral. But not a lot of characters use it. So when I'm watching TV, I'm trying to listen to every character when they refer to themselves, which we do a lot when we talk. And most of the men use either boku or ore to say I, and most women use atashi, even though they could use watashi as well, because it's neutral, but mostly women use it. So there's this one character in that note, Al, which is like this detective, which is super sketchy. And when he talks about himself, he's one of the few characters that are male that use watashi to refer to himself, which I think is super interesting, and that has a lot to do with what what his character represents on the show. So you're like, wow, you're noticing things, you're hearing them, you're like starting to understand, like you're using your brain to do fun things that keep you entertained with it, so that you want to know more. Now you want to know why, right? So that's an interesting thing to do, to just, okay, learn he, she, it, was, where, your basics, and then go watch TV and try to like hear those words. Or when you're like with a song, working with a song, you look for those words as well. She said, he said, look for every living I don't know, something. You gotta find something, because there's like, most phrases we use them on repeat all the time. Repeat, 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 repeat. So you're gonna learn them if you use them, if you see them everywhere, because they're gonna be everywhere once you realize, because they're everywhere in your language as well. So go grab a song, go grab a playlist, go grab a TV show, and just try to keep it fun. Not as homework, not as I have to do this. No, like be curious about it and have fun. And eventually, when you have fun, you're gonna lose your shyness. If it's hard for you to talk, you're gonna like eventually feel good about yourself, because when you are trying to put a sentence together, it's so hard the first couple of times. I guess I don't remember because this was a long time ago, but I still get nervous to have mistakes. I probably made a lot of mistakes during this video, but you won't notice because you don't know. So anyway, so I get really embarrassed trying to use Japanese. I'm like, "Atashi wa," and I'm like, ah. So yeah, like everything in life, you just do it even when you're scared, and you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again till it feels natural for you. So you're gonna be talking to the camera, talking to yourself. A lot of people talk to themselves like out loud. If you do that, you could try and use English. You're talking to yourself. Who's gonna stop you? Go for it, girl. Go slay it, queen. Okay, so yeah, so that was, I think I said like things you already know. We already know what we have to do, but we don't want to do it. That's the real thing. Because like the watching like TV and listening to music is the most said thing about learning languages that I've heard in my entire life. Like every teacher, every person that knows more than one language is going to tell you, watch TV, listen to music, that will be it. And people underestimate that, but it's so true, because your brain learns. Okay, you're watching with subtitles and they say water, and when you're reading the subtitles you read agua, and your brain listens and there's a word that says water. So the next time somebody says water, you're gonna see agua on the screen too, again and again and again and again, and your brain eventually is going to catch up. And you don't have to do anything. Your brain is gonna do it on you. You just have to sit and watch the TV with subtitles and try to listen to the voices and see if you can like separate and comprehend something. Okay, but really try and pay attention, stay put. I would recommend to do this with a show that it's hard for me to watch new shows. I watch the same shows over and over. I'm rewatching Rick and Morty. So for example, if you love Rick and Morty the way I do, go to your most watched episode ever that you could possibly say the lines in Spanish out loud and watch it in English, and watch like the scenes. You already know what's happening, so you don't have to focus on the plot. You can just like focus on your English and the things they're saying. So I would do that. I would just like go for the most watched piece of media that I have and watch that in English on repeat and be like, okay, they said that this is what they're talking about. I know the context, I know what's going on, I know what's coming next, so I can, by context, understand a whole lot more that I would if I wasn't paying attention, or if this was a piece of media that I've never seen before. So yeah, I think you should go for something safe, something that makes you happy, a TV show that you love, music that you love, that you listen to on repeat, and get curious and get fun with it and just like play around. You don't have like a teacher that's going to be like coming out of the sky and being like, no, this is not the way that English is supposed to be learned. You have to do it your own way. If you're gonna learn by yourself, best thing you can do is figure out a way to make it fun for you, so you don't feel like you're doing homework. I think that's the biggest tip. Try to have fun so your brain is not like, we have to go over it again. Yes, you have to, and yes, you will, because it's super fun. Okay, and you know what's fun? Speaking English. This video is super long, okay? Because I never stopped talking. Because speaking English is so fun, okay? So go learn, and so you can do it too. So we can do it together. We can have a WhatsApp group and all talk in the WhatsApp group and send audios and laugh and make jokes about it, right? But that would be so much fun. Okay, so that was it. I'm trying to think. I didn't like prepare anything. Like, this is all my life I've been wanting to make a video about this, or like a thread on Twitter or something. All my life I've been asked to do so, and I'm doing it now, and it doesn't feel like I got nothing prepared. I'm just having mate and talking things and talking and nonsense, because 80% of what I say is English basically. But maybe somebody's gonna find this video super interesting, and I hope you do, because I enjoyed doing it. Oh my god. Okay, I'm gonna put subtitles on it. I'm gonna make them myself. I don't know how to, but I'm gonna figure that out, I guess. Okay, so I'm gonna go. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna go do that. Whoa, YouTube. Okay. See you in another video. If you have questions about English, you can always talk to me and ask me, because I love helping people out with it. I love to encourage people to learn English because it's so fun. Like, for real, I really enjoy it. It's my thing. I love it so much, and I love to share it with people I love. So don't be afraid. Send me a text, send me a message, send a comment, and let me know what you guys think, or what you think you need help with, or any questions you have, honestly. Well, that was it for today, so see you next time. Bye.